In October of 1968, Warner Brothers released the movie Bulitt. It starred Steve McQueen, who was without a doubt the coolest guy around. It also starred a beautiful 1968 Mustang Fastback, taking advantage of the rising popularity of the American pony car. This is that exact car. Missing in action for nearly 40 years, it was recently uncovered and brought back to San Francisco to help launch the third commemorative Bullitt Mustang, this time based on the recently refreshed S550 platform. As I found out on the windy mountain roads of Northern California, the new Bullitt perfectly captures the spirit of that original 1968 Fastback. So before we get too carried away talking about what makes the Bullitt special and different from all the other Mustangs on the road, I want to actually back up a bit and just talk about this generation of Mustang. Then we can build on that and give you a sense of why this is an interesting proposition. So the S550 Mustang generation was launched back in 2014, and the big difference at that time was the addition, finally, of an independent rear suspension. So what did that do? Well, it turned it from a really solid straight line traditional American muscle car into a legitimate sports car. So finally, you could mention Mustang in the same sentence as something like a BMW M4 and people wouldn't laugh at you. And oh yeah, it does it for way, way less money. I mean, this thing can actually go around corners now and it can handle the power, which you couldn't say about this vehicle until this generation was launched. Now, 2018 was a mid-cycle refresh, so some cosmetic changes on the outside of the vehicle. The nose got lower, a little more aerodynamic, trim changes, available paint changes, new rear valence and rear diffuser, new exhaust, etc. So that is all incorporated on this vehicle. Now for 2018, the standard Mustang, there are two different engines available. No longer a V6, only an EcoBoost turbocharged 4-cylinder engine and a 5-liter naturally aspirated V8 available in the GT. Routing that power to the rear wheels only is either a 10-speed automatic. That's the choice if you want the fastest 0 to 100 times or you really care about quarter-mile times. And then there's the driver's choice. That's the 6-speed manual, which this car is equipped with today. The pedals are really nicely spaced in every single Mustang for heel-toe downshifting. Although, as I'll talk about briefly, there's a special change here. We now have auto rev matching in the Bullitt for 2019. Okay, so now that I've laid the foundation for what the standard S550 generation Mustang is all about, we can start to build on top of that to tell you what makes this Bullitt just a little bit different. Now you'll notice that I'm sitting here, and the reason is I am absolutely socked in on top of a mountain. I swear to God, again, the Golden Gate Bridge is just about there, but it's really foggy and wet, and there's a lot of cyclists, so I figured I'll just pull over and we can have a quick conversation about what separates this from the standard Mustang. And we'll start with the mechanical stuff. So the best way to think about this Bullitt edition is that it's the best version of the Mustang GT from a driver's perspective. So it's equipped with all of the good driver's bits and pieces as standard equipment. This comes with the power pack included, which is a bigger brake, 6-piston Brembos, better performance tires. It also gives you shorter gear ratio, 2.73, I believe. It also gives you just things to keep this running cool and running optimally if you do plan to track it, and it does make a difference over the standard Mustang without the power pack. There is a slight boost in power here, so we're up to 480 from 460, gains of 20 horsepower. Torque remains 420 foot-pounds of torque, so no change there. Now, how do they do that? Through the use of the GT350 intake manifold and a slightly bigger 87mm throttle body. These are very subtle changes. I honestly don't notice a difference between 460 and 480. It is a fast car, but so is the standard Mustang GT. 3,800 pounds, and this vehicle gets up to 104 seconds dead all day, every day if you equip it with the automatic transmission. And the best drivers maybe a couple of tenths above that with the manual. And of course, you can only get the Bullitt with a 6-speed manual transmission. Of course, the Bullitt comes with a couple of subtle cosmetic changes that separate it from the pack. It comes with a unique blacked out and debadged front grille that's meant to mimic the one found in the original movie. It also has unique blacked out 19-inch torque thrust style rims, and the quad tip exhaust around back have, yep, you guessed it, also been blacked out. Furthermore, the 5.0 badges that can typically be found on the front left and front right fenders have been removed entirely, completing the sleek, stealthy look. Every Bullitt sold in Canada comes with two options that I think should be just standard equipment regardless of what version of Mustang you get. And the first is the active exhaust. And the reason I love that is it gives you the option to turn down or turn up the sound of this wonderful 5-liter V8. You're gonna like that because this car is so loud. It sounds great, but if you got some nosy neighbors or you live in a suburb or you're just an extra polite person, having the ability to press quiet on the exhaust menu is a godsend. The second thing, I think I love it even more than the active exhaust, is the MagneRide damper system. That is becoming more common throughout the industry, and that is a good thing for you, for me, for everybody else, because it gives this vehicle a real dual personality. It allows you to commute to work in comfort Monday to Friday. It takes the harshness out of the ride. It's still stiff, it's still sporty, don't get me wrong, but it's very usable day to day. And if on the weekend you want to go for a spirited drive, or like many Mustang owners, you track this car, you can just toggle up on the button over here on the center console area into track mode, and this becomes a very hard edge car. A little bit uncomfortable on public roads, but it flattens it out, gets rid of that dive under the brakes, and turns it into a track monster. Now, the absolute best part of this car is the sound, and look at this, a tunnel. So check this out. Oh, that never gets old. And you know what? That was only about 5,000 RPM. When you get this thing up to its red line at around, I think 73, 7,400, it just screams. It sounds like it's about to detonate. It's unbelievable. The sound that this thing generates, this new V8 engine, it's so visceral. And this new intake manifold, you do get a little more noise out of it. It's hard to quantify. It's just a very subtle difference from the Mustang that I was driving a couple of weeks ago. But it's just so lovely. Let's do that again. Oh, I am a child, an absolute child when it comes to this car. And if that is not, the ultimate badge of car enthusiast approval, then I don't know what is. Well, Ford has done a fantastic job bringing us to some truly amazing roads this weekend. And I mean, first of all, it's depressing to know that these roads exist, but they're thousands of kilometers away from my house. But second of all, I couldn't think of a better car to drive them with. I mean, this Bullitt is a visceral driver's car, and that's what makes it so enjoyable on a road like this. Is, you've got the manual transmission only with the auto rev match, which I think is a great feature, especially for novices who want to buy this car but may be a little bit intimidated about heel towing. You can leave the rev match on, and once you get comfortable, you can turn it off if you want that pure experience. But this also has the active exhaust. It's impossible for it to not sound amazing, even at low speeds. And if you want, you can shut it up so you don't piss off your neighbors too badly. And the MagneRide dampers, these magnetic dampers are so great. They give it that dual purpose. It's a comfortable car day to day, but you put it in Sport Plus or Track like I have it in right now, and this thing is flat. It takes that wallowy character out of it. And when you do that, it dials back the electronic nannies and it frees up this car just a little bit. And what do I mean by that? Well, it just gives a little more slip into the rear tires. It allows you to control the angle of the vehicle just slightly with the rear wheels. And of course, we're on a mountainous road with who knows, how high that cliff is to my right. So we play it safe, especially in a borrowed car. But it just makes it feel free and gives it that sense of neutrality. And I think rear-wheel drive architecture cars can do that. They feel different than all-wheel drive. They feel different and better in many cases than front-wheel drive for that reason, because you can play with the rear end. Once you get on a track, that becomes even more apparent. So overall, this is a driver's car. This is a great trim package for the standard Mustang GT. I think absolutely worth it. Really fun car to drive. I mean, how can you not have fun on this type of road in this type of car when when it sounds like that. And just one more time, give it a little bit of a... Oh man, this thing is just a ride, and I love having those 6-piston Brembos, because before you know it, you're going 100 kilometers an hour. And we don't want to end in a ditch, so it's good to know we have those big vented brakes up front. Oh, wonderful car. Really, really fun car. Great roads. This has been a pretty good weekend. The base EcoBoost Mustang starts well under $30,000 in the Canadian market. Count on another $15,000 or so for a well-equipped V8 powered GT. This special edition Bullitt Mustang retails for $57,525, which by my calculation is just a little more than a $3,000 premium over a similarly spec'd GT. So is it worth it? In my mind, absolutely yes. Consider that a Mustang GT in any trim is a very fun, very capable car that never ceases to put a smile on my face. This Bullitt package just amplifies everything I like about the platform, but it adds a level of effortless, understated cool that I can definitely get behind. This is the quintessential American car, and it's celebrating the quintessential American movie star, and it really is a perfect fit.